This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social, and I'm now joined by Lewis Ritson, the Geordie Golovkin. Lewis, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yes, I'm all good, thank you. Firstly, I want to say thanks for hanging around and speaking to us today. It means a lot.
No problem at all. Anytime.
Obviously, you got your fight coming up in a little over a month's time for the European title. So what made you decide to fight in Birmingham now?
Well, no, we just got the phone call off Eddie, and we've got a European title fight in Premature. It's quite durable. He's quite a tough lad, and we've only done 4 rounds in the last 8 or 9 months. So Hearn says, I think it's best if we get a tough opponent for the Birmingham to get you the rounds, and so that if you do have the rounds with Premature, it'll not be a bit of a shock to you because you haven't done them that well and that long. So we've agreed to it, and yeah, we are now.
I mean, when you say obviously you haven't done the rounds because you've just been able to completely put everybody to the side, whoever you fought. If you go in there on Saturday night and you do it again, you're going to be a little disappointed.
No way. We've said that to Hearn. What happens if we just blast this kid out as well? But then just getting a bit of ring rust off and we're back in there. And to be fair, it's usually these are the type of fight that you actually don't get rid of them. These are the types of fights that go the rounds that you're probably expecting to get rid of them. Whereas the last 3 British title fights, you're not expecting to get rid of them as early. So it could be a potential banana skin, but we're going to go in there and do what we do.
I mean, you've had such a meteoric rise over this past year and a half. You just try and sum up to me what this past year and a half has been like for you.
Well, it's been some roller coaster. I know that. Obviously the good and the bad times. But with the bad times come the good times. In the last year, it's been great for the performances that we've been putting on. But we were just talking about before, we're close to walking away and the bad times. But you got to put them behind you, and we have. And now it's all going. Couldn't ask for it to be going any better.
I mean, you mentioned you was close to walking away at one point. We'll come to that. But what was it for you? What got you into boxing in the first place?
No, well, I've got 4 sisters at home. That's one of them. Any dodgy boyfriends now? But my dad's been a boxing coach for about 30 odd years, and when I was 8-year-old, he got us in the gym, and I've just never been out of it. And at first, I never really went to box. But I was 8-year-old and we went out to spar. And I know me and a couple of other lads, when we had 1 minute breaks, used to go outside, and 1 minute rest, used to spar with each other. And I just loved it, and it just stuck with us ever since.
I know you've got a really close relationship with your dad. So what is it like when he's there, he's supporting you, he's training you? What is that like? Do you ever feel like you maybe need a break from him at times?
No, and me and my dad more like best mates and anything, but you're right. Sometimes you do need a break, and I go down to Neil Fannon's 3 or 4 times a week. And my dad has us the rest of the time, so it's 50-50 really, and it's good because sometimes we do. When a breaking point with each other sometimes, and that was a problem in the amateurs. He was my trainer in the amateurs, but I was training with him every day, and it was sometimes you'd go in and I can't be asked to listen to you and stuff like that. But and it's different now, and it's good.
When you first started getting into boxing, and maybe even when you had your first professional fight, what was your thoughts in terms of what you could achieve in the sport? Was you thinking that maybe you could reach the level you've reached now, or was you just doing it because you enjoyed it?
No, well, I was a qualified electrician. I was working away, and I originally turned pro with Billy Nelson up Scotland, and he showed a bit of interest in me, and we thought the time was right. I was working away, so we weren't really getting in the gym training, and I quit working. Do you know what? We definitely thought that we could have been British champion. We obviously turned pro to become that, and we have done that, and it's happened sooner than what we thought, but it's been a good rise.
That decision to quit working, how difficult was that for you to make?
Very hard, because I was working away, a qualified electrician, making 600 or 700 quid a week. And then to turn pro and ideally be getting nothing. Moved up Scotland, so all the money I had saved when I was an electrician went on a flat and doing the flat out and stuff. And then you went from having a load of money to having then no money, and then obviously just making enough to cover your fights and pay your rent and all that to your skin. So it was hard at first, but I've come home and I made the right decision. I come home, and at first it was even harder than what it was up Scotland, but we've stuck at it, and we're reaping the rewards now.
What was it like in terms of your living space? Was you living in was it just a dingy flat? Was it the small closed, just like a 1 room?
No, it was Billy's flat, so he was my manager, and I was renting a flat off him, paying him my managers and me trainers' fees. So he was getting all my money really, but I went up with my girlfriend. I had only been with my girlfriend a year. She made the decision to come up as well, and we lasted a year up there. But I think if she wasn't there, I think I would have lasted 2 or 3 months. You know, like I went up to Scotland. I didn't have one mate. You know, like neither did she. We just had each other really, and it was quite hard. And you know, we've come back and got all our friends back home and stuff like that. And it was a hard decision to make at first, but you know, we made the right one.
It's obviously, you know, you have made the right one. We can see that from your results. Let's say when you was maybe around your 10th, 11th fight, when was it that you were starting to think, oh, is my lucky opportunity going to come? Is my break going to come?
Yeah, well, we had 9 fights in my first year with Billy, but the thing is, he was keeping me like 9 stone 9 the full year. You know, so like it was even training camps. I was finishing a fight and going straight to training camps, and I was just getting drained. And kids I should have been stopping were lasting the rounds with us because I had nothing in us. I've come home. You know, the first few fights, my dad said, look, we're going to fight at a heavier weight until we get the chance to fight. We had a few pull-outs for English titles, and then Joe Murray pulled out of a British title eliminator, and obviously outside the gym wasn't going very well, and I just thought my chance was never going to come. And if I didn't have my dad in the gym with us, and I've had any other coach, I would have walked away, but he managed to keep us in there, and luckily he did.
How significant a decision then was that for you to move back down and let your dad start training you again? Massively.
Like me and Billy never really fell out. We're still, if I seen him now, I would still talk to him, but you know, it was a bit stale. You know, like the things I thought I would be doing up there, I wasn't. And you know, it was a bit. He said we were going to do all these things, and we never did. And it sort of just become a bit. This isn't what I want anymore, you know. And I told my dad that, and my dad sat us down and went, well, if you train like you an amateur with us, there's no chance I'm training you. This is the way it's got to be. And we've agreed to it, and we've kept the word, and you know, we're British champion out right now. And if it was like I keep saying it, but if it was anyone else, it wouldn't have worked that way.
What was it for you that made you feel like it did go stale then? Like, we see a lot of fighters these days who, after X amount of years, or maybe after a bad couple of defeats, they'll move trainer because they feel like they need something new, they need something fresh, something to reinvigorate them, and a new trainer for them is their way to be able to do that. So what was it for you that made you feel like this wasn't working with Billy?
Quite a few things. I'm not going to disrespect Billy on the camera, and you know, like stuff like that, but like a few things was going on, and it was like, you know, for example, in my last fight with him, I had my fight, I was skint, and I didn't get paid till 6 weeks or 7 weeks after it, you know, and I was getting the money off fight bits and pieces and stuff from up there, you know, oh yeah, I'll give you this much this time, and then I'm waiting for weeks for the rest of my wages and stuff, and it wasn't really like what I needed at the time, and it was just sort of things were going on in the gym and that, and it just I had to get out there really. It was either that or just quit boxing altogether. And you know, my dad didn't have his pro coach at the time, and he had told us that he was thinking about getting it, and as soon as he said that, I knew the decision to go back then would have been the right one.
What was your dad's views in terms of your boxing career at that stage when you was up in Scotland? Did he feel like you should have carried on, or did he feel like you should have just gone into full-time work?
No, you know, he knew I had made a big decision, quitting work and doing it, and he wanted us to stay, but he knew the warning signs were there. He was telling us after 4 or 5 fights, my dad, this isn't the way it should be going, this, you know, and it wasn't his mates then, it was sort of telling us his father and son, you know, like, my dad's more laid back when it comes to me, you know, like I say, he lets Fano work with 3 or 4 times a week and never says, he says whatever Fano does, that's the way he does it, so he's not one of them parents where it's, I want it done my way or it's no way. He's not like that at all. But you know, he after 4 or 5 fights sort of said the warning signs are there. I said I was going to stick at it, and you know, Billy were training like Ricky Burns and Scott Harrison and things like that. And you know, the chances weren't coming, and it was just sort of end up listening to me dad and made the right decision.
So do you feel like when you look back, when you originally moved up there, it was almost like, not necessarily an immature, but maybe a brash decision, or like a comparison I've just thought up of in my head is when like an 18 or 19-year-old wants to go to university and then move away to get a different type of experience. Obviously not for like drinking or going out purposes, but just for freedom of being able to do their own thing. Was that maybe something which in your mind at the time you wanted?
Yeah, it was definitely brash. I mean, at the time he had Ricky Burns, and the flat I was renting off him, the gym was just round the corner. And then when I eventually moved up there, he told us, oh, by the way, I haven't got Burns anymore, and I didn't drive, and he went, oh, by the way, the gym's an hour and a half away. So it was a bit like, before I even got there. You know, as soon as I got there, it was a bit, bloody hell, what's going on? Yeah, like sort of the two main reasons I've come. It's sort of that you haven't told us, you know. So there was a massive stumbling block there, and I had David Brophy in the gym, and me and him got on really well up there and all that. He's a great kid, but I think it was a bit brash. It was sort of, maybe we should have said to him, oh, we'll come up on certain weekends at first, and that's what we were meant to be doing, and it never happened. And then it was all just rushed really, and that was probably one of the major stumbling blocks when it come to it. There was a few things that were promised and said never happened from the start.
Has that been like a huge learning experience for you then about what boxing could deliver and could not deliver, and what you've got to be more aware of down the line?
No, definitely, yeah. And you know what? No, yeah, it was definitely. It's hard to say, because you know, when you get something in your head that you want to do, it's like your job wanting to interview boxers. You know, like if that's what you want to do, you'll dive straight into it. You know, you could have people saying don't do this and don't do that, but you're not going to listen to them because this is what you want to do. And at the time, that's what I wanted to do. You know, Billy Nelson, world champion trainer. I'm going to train with him, and I had loads of offers on the table of trainers locally, even further doing managers as well. And I thought to myself, no, he's who I want to be with, and maybe I should have took that step back and I'll have a look at everybody and then see who best fits us. But I didn't, so it was a massive learning curve, and I wouldn't be here today where I am unless I had that learning curve, and I'm glad I did.
So what other maybe coaches or what other areas were you looking at before you decided to move up to Scotland with Billy?
I was looking all over really, you know, like there was obviously Scotland, down the country and stuff. I'm obviously not going to mention names and that, but I had a few offers, and you know, like with Billy, went up for a weekend sparring, and he said, oh, sign these papers, and we did, and all of a sudden he was my trainer manager. You know, like a bit like naive to like thinking, oh bloody hell, you know, what have I just done there? It was sort of, oh, sign these for us, and we did, and oh, I'm your trainer manager now. You know, I was thinking, like bloody hell, Van, you come for a weekend sparring, you know, like. And like stuff like that. So it was a massive learning curve, but you know, maybe we should have took a step back, like a step back. But it was like at the time we were going up there sparring with Burnsy, sparring with Brophy, sparring with all of our top lads, and I was a bit naive, and I was too young really. Like, and at the time, me and my dad didn't have a great relationship going on. I was working away, I wasn't really listening to him, and it was so at the time, whatever he was telling us to do, I was doing the opposite. So I definitely should have took a step back and thought to myself, oh, need to make the right decision.
And then obviously, like, you've moved back, you're with your dad now, he's training you. What's it been like? What was it like even when you had to make that initial transition from training with Billy up in Scotland then back to your dad?
Yeah, it was at first it wasn't really that hard, to be fair. It was sort of, my dad was sort of like asking me what I had learned off Billy and whether I should keep the training the same, and we clocked on straight away that training the same that Billy was training wasn't going to work. We were going up there and he was just sticking on a bag every day for 10 rounds, or just hit that for 10. I'm away there. Just sort of finish your rounds off, then going. We knew straight away, you know, like, I'm a hard trainer, but I need somebody on me back, making sure I'm training hard. And my dad sussed that straight away, and that's what he's done.
Do you feel like no matter what happens in your career, you need your father to be involved to some capacity to be able to push you on and to make sure you do stay along the right lines?
Yeah, definitely. You know, like I'm quite quiet, me. You know, like I'm a bit. Even when I'm back here, I'm a bit like secluded. You know, like I don't really go out. I'm a bit like a family man. You know, I've got 4 sisters. They've all got kids.
So you're not the stereotypical Geordie.
No, definitely not. I've been sober now for teetotal for like 2.5 years, coming on 3 years. So I don't drink, I don't do nothing. So like I'm a family man, and being away from my family up Scotland, I know I've got my girlfriend. We've got a little one now. Like that's what I live for. And like getting taken away from that up Scotland was a bit. It's soul destroying at times. You know, like I was sitting in a flat and she was at work, and I had finished the gym, and you're in a flat for sometimes 8 or 9 hours by yourself. You know, like just thinking what am I doing up here? Back here I could have been with my nieces, my nephews, you know, my family, and I think definitely need someone like my dad pushing us on. And like Fano, you know, my dad, I get on really well with Fano, and he's quite similar to my dad, my other coach, and you know, it's been a match made in heaven so far with the freeway.
When you mentioned, you know, being teetotal for nearly 3 years now, was there ever a stage when you was maybe a little bit drinking maybe a bit too much? I don't want to say addiction or something, but it was maybe involved too much with that side. I don't know if I'm looking too far ahead.
No, yeah, definitely. There was a time where, you know, like I was fighting, and fighting in the semi-finals of the ABAs on a Saturday, and I was out on the drink on a Thursday and a Friday, you know, like in the pub, like in the nightclubbing and stuff, and we all go through that stage when we're young, you know, like, you know, and I used to tell me dad, oh, I'm just going to drinking cokes, and they used to believe us, you know, like, he used to tell everyone, oh, he's away, but he's only on the cokes, and people used to try and tell him he's got vodka in that coke, man. He'd be like, no, he hasn't. And you know, we'll all go through that spell of, you know, that's how I met my girlfriend on a night out, you know, like on the drinking, like 4.5 years ago. So, you know, like, to me, I need to be like that. It's either I don't drink, but I'm not one of them that can go out for 1 pint. It's either go out, or don't go out at all. And that's one thing I've had to do, is not go out. And like I say, I haven't had a drink for 2.5 to 3 years now, and it's reaping the rewards.
So has that been probably one of the best decisions that you've made, then, being able to just quit drinking completely? Or has it ever been hard for you to quit drinking? Has there ever been times when you've just felt like you could do with a drink in your life because of tough times?
Do you know what it is? After every fight, I say to my lass, get 4 cans. Ask her, you know, she'll tell you, get 4 cans in the house. She'll go, are you sure? I go, yep, after me fight, 4 cans. I'll have 4 cans. I don't really drink beer, I'll have 4 cans of Foster's. I don't even drink them. I'll come home. It's just one of them things where you're training for fights and you see the build up to fights and people are drinking and you think, I'm missing out, yeah. And then you have your fight, you win, and then you think, no, I'm not missing out on anything. And I always end up chucking them out the next day. Shake hands, it's pointless buying them folk out. It's just one of them things in it where you think you're missing out, but you're not really, and I'm glad I don't do that.
And what's it like, so I know you've mentioned you've got a young daughter, what's it like trying to juggle boxing, which is a very demanding sport? And I always say, when I interview boxers, you know, a lot of fans don't see the sacrifices you guys do make, you know, 12 to 16 week camps, you know, for you yourself as well. Now you're getting ready for a European title shot, you've just risen through the ranks. It's a lot of sacrifices you've had to make. So how difficult is it judging family with boxing?
It's absolutely massive. Like, if you ask my girlfriend, she'll say I've got the most boring life ever with me, because I'm in the gym 24/7. You know, like, I'll have a fight, we'll have a couple of days where we enjoy ourselves, a couple of meals, but then it's straight back to the grind. And it's hard, you know. My daughter come 7 weeks premature before the biggest fight of my life with Robbie Barrett. You know, my girlfriend's type 1 diabetic, our sugar levels were all over, and we didn't realise she was pregnant at the time. We found out quite early, and the doctors were telling her to get rid of it. You know, the baby's going to be born with disabilities in this because our blood levels were that high. And they says we're not even sure the baby will make it until after a certain like 20 odd weeks. So I had that worry in the back of my head, and we're training for the Barrett fight, and then the Barrett fight kept putting back. We didn't have a house. The baby comes 7 weeks premature. We only had a house for 3 or 4 days before that, so I had nothing in it. No settees, no beds, no nothing. And the baby was obviously in hospital for 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks, and it was just massive. And words can't really describe how hard it was. Really, like a dark time, and you've got to try and put that in the back of your head. And I was thinking to myself, I'm not even bothered about fighting Robbie Barrett. I didn't want to fight him. And then I had to talk me down. He said, if you win this, then your lives are going to be, you know, what you want to make of it. And it just got in there and motivated. And like I would keep saying it, and it's true. I didn't have my dad in the gym with us out, and you know, if it was just with any other trainer, I would have just went there, see you later. I'd applied for a few factory jobs, and luckily I didn't hear back from them. Or if I did hear back from them, I would have took it, and I would have still been in there now. Just you know, when the baby's born and you've got no money, you know, like relying on your mum and dad to buy stuff for you, and I'll pay you back when I get some money in, and you're not getting any money because you obviously your fight's not coming in. It was hard, so you know, like you need your family behind you. That's what I think, and I have had mine behind us, and I'd say it's been good times now.
I don't want to probe into it because I know it's a sensitive subject, but you mentioned your daughter and the types of things that the doctors were saying could have happened. How difficult is that for you as an even younger lad than what, you're only 24 now?
24, yeah.
So you're like 22, 23. So right. At the time, like a very young lad, to have, you know, you've been told all this by doctors, you're trying to break into boxing, you know, get a career for yourself, you've got a young girlfriend as well. How difficult is that for you mentally to try and juggle what the doctors have said along with everything else and not let it take over your thinking?
It was dark times, really, you know, like my girlfriend was 20 odd weeks pregnant, and I just said, you know, look, you look like the old Claire. She's gonna, I mean, my girlfriend had a terrible pregnancy. She had laser treatment in her eyes, steroid injections in her eyes, preeclampsia, fits and that, and the doctor had, not many people know this, but the doctor had said, under no circumstances can you be under any stress. And I ended up getting attacked outside the house, and she was at the top window and witnessed it all. I got hit in the head with a hammer, hit in the arm with a machete, I got knocked over. This is all in front of her. I've been 20 odd weeks pregnant, and the doctor said any stress related the baby could die, and all that happened. And it was just sort of, luckily the Barrett fight had been put back, so I was meant to fight Barrett in about 3 weeks' time, and luckily it had been put back. I thought to myself, this can't get any worse for us, what's going on? And obviously hearing that from the doctors, and then obviously the baby coming, and do you know how, and the baby was in a special care unit. I was dropping more lads off at the hospital 8 o'clock, training till 10, coming back, staying at the hospital 5:30, training till 7, coming back. Then I was at the hospital 7 till 2 o'clock in the morning, taking more lads back home, sleeping and doing the same. I done that every day for 3 weeks. And and then obviously the baby got out of the hospital, and then a week later I was fighting Robbie Barrett. It was a bit like, and I didn't think I was going to win that fight, to be fair. I really didn't. I thought myself, to be fair, I was just give us the money, give us a bit of money, be a bit secure, and then, we'll do what we have to do. But luckily it all just, on the night, just clicked, and we put on a good performance in Hearn, and then away we went.
One more question before I come on to the Robbie Barrett fight. You just mentioned you was attacked outside your girlfriend's house. What was the situation with that? What happened?
It's just a bit,
You just like a rough area where you just got out your car at the wrong time?
We're sort of, when you're all younger, we've all done daft things and all that. We've had it was my group and a certain group had trouble for years. My friend got his nose bit off and stuff like that. And, just the way it happened, I jumped from behind outside my girlfriend's house on the sly, with obviously weapons, and all that happened. And it was just I'm obviously not going to talk much about it because not many people know about, but it was just sort of, I broke a couple of bones in each arm, fractured a couple of fingers and all that, and they were about getting pins in my fingers. So then I thought, I'm definitely not going to be fighting if I get pins in my finger. I'm going to be out for months. And it was just all that was happening. Then obviously I was meant to be fighting Robbie Barrett in 3 weeks' time, and 4 weeks' time on a Steffi Bull show. I was just thinking, I'm going to have to pull out. My chance is going to go. Luckily Matchroom took the fight, and then that was put it back till about 10 weeks' time. So I thought to myself, we didn't need pins, and then we were just trying to get in the gym. But obviously with that happening with the baby, and obviously that happened with my girlfriend, and obviously coming 7 weeks early, and it was just, everything was just a nightmare really. And it's stuff that people don't know, because you don't want people to think, he's just wanting to feel sorry for himself. So I've just kept it under wraps really. And then obviously it's been a year since that now, so you can start telling people. And they're not thinking, he's just doing it for attention and stuff like that. But we did have a hard time, and if you ask Phil, my manager, my dad, my girlfriend, they'll say Lewis is the most laid back kid ever. But probably before that I wasn't. But since all that's happened, it sort of makes you think differently, doesn't it? And I am the most laid back kid now, and just laugh about it now, and look where we are, and it's just happy days.
When you talk about all this stuff, and you've just said that people might think you have to be attention, I think anybody who does take that stance is just an absolute fool, because no one who's gone through the types of things that you're saying, and I'm not saying that everybody goes through different things in their life, but just listening to and talking to you about your circumstances, there's no attention seeking going on there. I wouldn't wish any of this on anyone, and I can understand how difficult this would be for you to even consider talking about. So I've got a lot of respect for you to be able to even bring it up.
No, well, like you say, it's more like when you have to have a tapper now. I'm getting a bit better in front of the cameras now, and sitting down, and it just comes off, doesn't it? It just comes off naturally. But but it was hard times, and we've gotten through them, and no matter what anyone ever says to me, if I'd done anything in boxing again, I've got my little girl there, I've got my girlfriend, and I won that British belt out for my dad, and that's all really I've ever wanted out of boxing. Me and my dad used to say when we're amateurs, imagine winning the professional boxing British title if you ever do turn pro. And I used to say yeah, but we never used to think we would get there, to get there with him and be able to give him that belt. And like I say, that belt's in the house now, and he cherishes it, he loves it, and any belt I win in boxing will be given to him. And I hope I can win a few more. I hope I can win the European, I hope I can win the big ones. Like I say, I'll not be getting them, I'll be just giving to him, and that's what I want out of boxing.
we'll come on to all of this now then, but we'll start with Robbie Barrett. If you didn't win that fight, do you feel like that would have been the end for you in boxing?
Definitely. I think if I didn't win that fight, I would have took the money with both hands. I didn't get paid a lot for that. I would have took the money. Well, to be fair, I'm getting more for an 8-rounder tomorrow than what I did for a British title fight. So that puts it in perspective how much I was getting. And luckily Eddie took a gamble and put it on the show. But if I had lost, I wouldn't have come out and made any of these excuses. No one would have known. I would have just went, "Hey, Robbie Barrett, you were the better lad in the night. You beat us. You were the better kid. Go on to defend it a few more times, and hopefully you can get a house out of it." And that's what I would have said to him. But luckily for us, it was a dominant display. And my father used to say, well, still does say it was in the gym, and it used to, he used to say, "Do you want your little girl, when she grows up at school, saying that your dad was a contender? Do you want your dad tell people your dad was a champion?" And I used to say, "Well, I want to tell people we're a champion." He says, "Well, make sure that happens then. However, come on, couple more rounds on the bags, couple more ground floor." And that's the motivation I had. Like when I got there on the night, I wasn't even nervous. I just thought to myself, I'm going to win this for my little girl, and I did. And what's happened since then, I couldn't have asked for anything better to happen.
So when Eddie came to you within a few days of that win, signed you up, what was that like? Did you anticipate that?
Well, Eddie come in after and just come in after straight away after the fight and just says, "You'll have a few offers on the table, but mine will be better." I went, "All right, neighbour." And he says, "I'll ring you 12 o'clock Monday afternoon." I went, "Right, neighbour." And he rang at 11. But we had Frank Warren for absolute months and months. "I'm going to sign you. I'm going to send you a contract." Then it would be, I fought Jordan Ellison for the Northern area. I beat Jordan Ellison and we'll sign you. Beat him. Was the first lad to stop him. Obviously beat him. Or we had a British title eliminator with Murray. Or beat Murray, then I'll sign you. Obviously that fell through. And then it was sort of like, "Oh, don't worry, we're going to sign you. We're just looking at the minute, we're going to sign you." And then it never happened. And then, for Jeff, I'll tell you, 8 o'clock in the morning, on the Monday morning, Frank Warren rang. "Oh, he has a contract." And Jeff just went, "No, you're too late." Jeff had told us all Warren was going to come in with a contract, and I just went, "Oh, he's lost his chance." I didn't want to be mugged off, disrespected, and I thought that's what that lad had done to us. Had promised us a contract for months and months, and then never give us one. And Hearn rang at 11, and his contract was 100 times better than Warren's anyway. So I was happy to sign. And I've had 2 5-fight deals off Hearn now, and Hearn's looked after us. He's told us when I was going to fight, and he stuck to it. And when I first signed for Hearn, I was meant to fight Tommy Coyle on the Christmas time. That fell through, and Hearn said, "Come to the York Hall bill with Katie Taylor," and he gave us a bit of money for Christmas, which he didn't have to do. And there's just stuff like that I'll never forget. Like, if Eddie Hearn drops me tomorrow, says, "Oh, Matchroom isn't the place for you," I'll never badmouth him, because he's treated me well, and I always say he's treated back, he's done me well, and just been speaking to him then, hopefully that continues.
I mean, what was Eddie's plan for you then when he signed you? What did he say your route to the top was going to be?
Well, at first it was just, we're going to have try the 3 defences, maybe an Intercontinental title, and then a defence of that. And then, he rang me before the Highland fight saying, "Oh, look, I want to send you a new contract." And Jaffa, my manager, was saying, "Oh, no, we're going to wait and see after this fight, because we'll see what you're offering." But he sent me one after, and and it's just literally what's happening now. We'll beat Highland, we'll fight for the European, and we'll get a warm-up fight before that, and a few after, maybe America and something else. And we've just been talking to him, and that's still his ideas. And it's nice to know that when somebody gives you them or plans it, and it's going to stick by his word. So we're never going to be in the dark, not knowing when we're going to be fighting and all that. We've been given the dates, and they're the dates that he's going to stick to.
Yes, just going to pick back up on that then. So we've just talked about your plan with Eddie. This European title fight now, was this something that you actually imagined happening under Eddie's guidance, or did you still just think British title, that was it?
No, well, obviously the way we had been, we got mentioned after the Cardle fight, or we might put him in for the European. It was a bit like where it's only one defence away from keeping the British outright, like maybe we should do that more. Then Eddie was talking about it, and I can remember Carl Froch coming up after the Cardle fight and went, "Make sure you keep that British." And when I got people like that saying, I thought to myself, "Nah, that's the route I want to keep." And we always knew that European was going to come after, so we knew it was going to eventually come, but maybe it's come a bit quicker than what we thought because just of the way performances have been going.
You've had such like a meteoric rise, like I've already said, and your fan following would have grown so much. I know when you fought in Newcastle, the crowd was absolutely just.
Not a panel's room in it. Well, you had took a back office. You took a back office. You took a back office in the room. Aye. Is it not in your room?
You're good.
That's my manager, Phil. Is it not in your room, Phil? It'll be in your room.
Forgot what we were talking about now. European title fight. Yeah. So, did you anticipate this happening when you signed with Eddie, or was you just thinking, I'll win the British title, maybe defend it a few times, and just see what happens?
No, well, it was in the contract, but it was maybe the last fight on the contract. That's what it was, and obviously it's come up with 3 fights earlier than what was on the contract. So, we always knew it was coming, but obviously it's obviously how fast it's come because of how fast we've obviously been dealing with our opponents. I mean, we've kept the British title in 8 months, or 9 months we've won it, and then all the defences, so it's the fastest time anyone's ever done it. But obviously it probably wouldn't have happened like that if we weren't dealing with the opponents as fast as what we have been.
So there's obviously, like I say, you're dealing with opponents very, very quickly. There's a lot of expectation growing on you now. How have you dealt with that extra pressure or expectation?
Nah, I'm just still the same lad, everyone around Forest Hall always sees us. I was round there walking about, going to shops, going to local shops and that, and nothing's ever changed. If anyone wants to talk to us, I'll always have a good talk with them, and I'm not one of them where I've got to go and see you later and stuff. I've just got to keep level-headed, and if the fans don't buy tickets, then you didn't fight, don't you? And you got to keep that in mind. And for the Newcastle show, we sold about 1,500 tickets, and it's went from last year struggling to sell 100 Fashion at Leisure Centre, fighting a 6th round against James Gorman, to selling 1,500 against Highland. It's mad, really.
What was it like when you fought in Newcastle just a couple of fights ago? What was that like for you?
Words kind of explain the atmosphere, the feeling that you get when, it's, even before me ring entrance come on, everyone's shouting "Toon Toon, Black and White Army," and whether being a Newcastle lad and supporting Newcastle, it's just sort of words kind of describe the feeling that it gives you. And I'm hoping October the 13th it'll be even bigger and louder.
We've talked about European level, we've talked about British, world level. Do you feel that is achievable for you? Do you feel like you could get an opportunity somewhere along the lines?
Yeah, I mean it's hard because you've got world level, but then you've got even bigger than world level at lightweight with Lomachenko and Orez. They're world level, but they're even better than that. But they've got the world titles, isn't it? So it's if you said to me, who would you rather fight, Garcia, Orez or Lomachenko? It's blooming heck, it's flip a coin, isn't it? So, I think we've got to wait for the right opportunity and stuff. You do get people on the Twitter fighting them now, and it's sort of a massive, massive step. And I've already said now, it's a massive step that we're not ready for. And want to get the European out of the way and maybe a defence of that, then fight a fringe world level opponent to see whereabouts we're at. I didn't really want to jump in with likes of them and get cattle, do you know what I mean? Because then it's sort of the hype sort of comes off, doesn't it? So it's all, I do think I can reach world level. I do believe that, but the time's got to be right, and you've got to have a bit of luck.
You are still only 24, so you're still quite young. You got a long way to go in boxing. You've just mentioned those 3 names though. If you had to choose one, who would it be?
It's they're all top class one.
Alright, then put it to you like this: if it was a matter of you only had one chance to fight for a world title in your career and you had to fight one of them, who would it be?
I think it's got to be Lomachenko. I think he's the best out of the 3 of them, and I think you've got to test yourself against the best, haven't you? Not saying that I'll beat him, but I think you want to fight the best out there. It's in boxing, don't you? If you're going to have a world title fight, you don't want it to be against someone that's not really ranked very highly and you expected to win. You want to go to the lines then, don't you, and fight the top names and fight something that it's going to be a challenge, and I think that's the one I would want to fight.
So we've talked about world level, we've talked about your boxing career beforehand now. What does life after boxing bring for Lewis Ritson? Have you even thought that far ahead, what you want to try and settle?
No, I've never ever thought that, hopefully everyone never. It's the thing with my style of fighting, I come forward, I do get tagged every now and then, I know I'm not going to be in the sport for another 10 or 15 years, I'm not that, you know, but if I can get a good 7 or 8 year out of it, have a bit of money in the bank, and you never know if I'm not punch drunk going to punditry, you know what I mean? So something like that. But you know, you could do anything, you know. But you know, you hopefully become a trainer or something like that. Open my own gym. You know, you see quite a few other fighters doing that these days, and probably that's the road I want to go down.
So you feel like you have to stay involved in boxing in some capacity once you've retired?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in boxing since I've been 8-year-old. You know, my dad's got a good, successful amateur gym. You know, even obviously my dad's 61 now. By the time my career's over, his career might be over as a coach. So taking over from him on the amateur side and hopefully getting a few pros myself, or working for Sky and the punditry, anything like that. You know what I mean? Anything to do with boxing, I'll take it.
You're trying to sell yourself here to Eddie, is that what the plan is?
Well, he's signed a few fighters up to Sky, hasn't he? So I might be coming asking you for a job on Boxing Social, you know, in 10 years' time, you never know.
You never know, Lewis, you never know.
You never know, hey, that'll be your dream, isn't it? So, you know, but you've got to be involved around boxing. I think when you've been involved around boxing that long, you've got dead sick of it, you want to stay in it now, and I think I'll want to stay in it.
Well, Lewis, we've had a very long, and it's been a brilliant chat to talk about a lot of things, and I've greatly appreciated you speaking to me and Boxing Social.
No problem at all, and thanks for having the time to come and speak to me as well.
No worries, Lewis.
Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that, Chad.